Henley is one of those experiences that I think a lot of people kind of like, they put on that bucket list of rowing to kind of get there, whether it's with their college program or, a club or whatever it may be, whether it's in high school. Talk about that process. Like for obviously, I think one of the biggest challenges for any team out there, right? You got to kind of go there and make sure it's a worthwhile experience. You obviously have to afford to be able to go there and all these different things. Like, so the challenge is, okay, well, you probably can't go there every year, at least, not to my knowledge. I think many programs kind of pick their times to go. But first time in the 50-year history, like, talk about that experience of, okay, like, we feel like this is a worthwhile adventure for our team. When did that process come about? And then where did you kind of begin in like, okay, we're going to go there, even without knowing what the outcome would be once you actually got there with winning and the successes and all those different things. Just, I think it'd be fun to enlighten athlete or coaches and parents, like, on the experience of going to, one of the most prestigious regattas in the world, if not the most prestigious regatta. But just take that wherever you want, just kind of walking us through that experience and that process.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's definitely something that, yeah, it's sort of been a bucket list experience that as a coach, you want to be able to give to the athletes. And, it's something we talked about over the years and it's come up. And, I always said, I don't want to just go over there just to go. While it is a great experience and something that you'd love for all the athletes to experience during their lifetime and during their athletic career, I also think it's important that they learn, do things that you're going to have success at and when you're well prepared. And obviously for us, for our brand and, for the standards that we want to have within the Rutgers women's rowing program, it's incumbent upon me to make sure that we go over, if we're going to spend money and go on a trip like that, we represent our program, our entire at a really high level, that we don't just go over there just to compete or just for the experience. So that's always been the challenge is, okay, when do we go? And then of course it takes a lot of money and fundraising and takes a lot of planning. So you got to kind of figure out well in advance, but you also got to make sure that you're good enough. And so that was one of the challenges that we've always had. And, for a number of reasons, we felt like this would be a really good year. We had some donors step up with this being the 50th year, some people that have really been impressed by the success that we've had in the program and really wanted to invest in the program. And so that sort of started happening in the fall. We had a big donor step up and say that he wanted to invest in the program. And, this opportunity to fund this trip to Henley was really appealing to him. So he stepped up in a big way back in the fall. That made it possible. We talked to the team. They were excited. And I give our current team, or I should say last year's team, a lot of credit because they stepped up in a big way. They understood and we talked about it. We said, we're not going over there just to compete. We want to go over there to represent our program at a really high level and be really difficult to beat when we go there. And they worked really hard. They took that and ran with it. And they just provided great leadership and great training and great racing, obviously, all year long, and showed that they were going to be ready for the challenge. And I just think the whole experience, obviously the regatta, the racing, the trip, was really special. But I think as a coach, it was really rewarding because only, I think, two of our athletes we brought 22 athletes, I think, in total. And we brought like 2 8s. And so in that group, I think only 2 of them had ever raced at Henley before. And so I had never been, most of our athletes had never been. So, we talk about, training every day is sort of as like a problem solving mission where we're just trying to get better. And I think this was a mission of, like, we haven't been before. We don't know our opponents. We don't know this regatta. Most of us had not done this before. But what was rewarding was, you don't have to have done something before to, do your research, figure it out, prepare, and go over and do it the first time and be able to do something pretty darn well. So I was really happy. And I want that to be one of the life lessons for the athletes in our program is that, you put your mind to something, you got to figure out what does it take to do it. You got to prepare really well. You got to be smart and you got to obviously work hard. And if you do that and you put your mind to it, you can show up and tackle anything that you want. You just it takes what it takes to do, different things that you want to accomplish in your life. And so you just got to figure that out and go through the stages of development, go through the process to make sure you're prepared. And I think we did a really good job with that. Just really proud of our athletes and excited that they got to experience some success in doing that.
Yeah. And obviously going over there and doing what you guys did and kind of putting, obviously making it all worthwhile, obviously on the results side too, right? Kind of going over there and having major success. So they basically knew in the back, as a team, you kind of had the forward thinking enough to kind of prep for it and do the right things with as you navigated the spring. And you said in the fall, you're kind of starting to kind of like, oh, like, we're starting to get some support and this could be a worthwhile trip for our 50th year. And then the athletes probably had some lead up, kind of knowing that this was part of the plan all along, as long as you guys had the spring that you had and all these different things. Is that correct? Like in the sense that they had preparation leading up to it?
We decided, hey, we're going, and I told him like, hey, we have to earn this, but we're going basically, so get ready, let's do it. And like I said, I give them a lot of credit. They did a great job. And understanding that, like, okay, got it. They understood very clearly what needed to be done and what we were going over to do. And we said we're going to take at least 1/8. We'll take 2 if we think it makes sense. And we ultimately decided based on the way the group was training and how committed we felt everybody was that we wanted to bring 2/8s, and we actually ended up bringing a couple more spares, which was great, just to sort of reward them for their hard work and show them that we see what they're doing and we really appreciate it, and we think that they're doing the right thing, and all sort of had earned the opportunity to go over and represent our team. So that's kind of how it went, and we sort of I think probably in the fall we knew we were going to take at least an 8, and then sometime in the early spring we said, you know what, we're taking 2. And so we're going to be committed to this. So everybody get ready and let's be well prepared. And then obviously we had some of our athletes that raced that were not necessarily going to be participating because they were racing for their national teams at the under 23 World Championships. We had an athlete that's racing at the Senior World Championships as well. So that sort of created new opportunities too, and made it another fun challenge after the season to sort of get back together, but have a new look. So like the first 8, had a few people that had been in there during the spring that were doing national team stuff this summer. So it allowed different people to sort of step up, whether it was people that had been in the first 8 all year, sort of had to step up in new roles. And then some athletes that had not necessarily been in the first 8 all season, earn the opportunity to get in there and step up and race really, really well when we went over to England.